this is Dr. Supreet from Department of Commerce, University of Delhi. So today we'll be discussing about the liner shipping model and the tram shipping models. So, when we talk about shipping, there are different models of our shipping. Models as in that, the company can, or the exporters or the importers can engage the different services of the shipping. Either they can engage the liner shipping model, or they can also go for the tram shipping models. Now, one by one we'll be talking about both the models. So, starting up with the liner shipping model. As the name indicates, the liner shipping models, which runs on to, you could say, the predetermined routes, predetermined frequency rates are there, and these sort of your liner shipping models have a very scheduled shipping services which runs at your fixed frequency and your predetermined routes. So, when we are talking about that, these are the shipping lines which are, will be running on to the pre-scheduled routes at the pre-scheduled times and having a very fixed frequency. So, so we see that this sort of shipping, you could say, segment is very organized and is structured in such a manner wherein all the, you could see, the prices for delivery of cargo are predetermined. So, this sector as compared to the any other sector is well organized, is used to preferably, you could say, export the bulk and the break bulk cargoes. So, when we are talking about these liner shipping models, this entire intent is to ensure the availability of your water transport to all types and all sizes of your cargo. Now, when we talk about liner shipping model, it doesn't mean that, all those form utility will be kept aside. The very first thing that we discussed in the ITLS segment was the form utility. That means the right product should reach to the right customer on the right time at the right place, right? So, that means what? These liner shipping models, they ensure these sort of your utilities. It ensures, since they, run on to scheduled shipping services at the fixed frequency and onto your predetermined routes, and as it makes sure that the rates are also your sort of uniform. So, it's a very organized, well structured sort of your shipping, water shipping mechanism, wherein you are not compromising with the quality of your distribution, rather you are ensuring on-time logistics. So, when we are saying ensuring on-time logistics means, since as I mentioned कि liner shipping happens what is कि वो predetermined routes पे चलती हैं आपकी and predetermined आपका frequency schedule होता है, right? So, that means what कि आपके पास all sort of your information is readily available, whether it is with respect to your, you could say, ensuring कि आपकी किस lines पर चलेंगी, किस time पर चलेंगी, किस type का cargo लेकर जाएंगे, everything, every sort of your information is there available with you. So, that sort of setup is actually, it ensures the on-time logistical delivery. And then too, when we are having the all the set of your information, so then our logistical costs will be comparatively low. Our operational costs will comparatively be low. Since we have already, you could say, talked about since there will be very fixed times, there will be fixed voyage schedules onto which they will be running up. So, that would ensure the availability, that would ensure the reliability of the, you could say, shipping lines running onto the fixed voyage schedules. So, that would also lead to, we could say that, there will be faster transportation times. So, whenever we are talking about these sort of your liner shipping models, they are, preferably being used for your sort of your bulk cargo, for sort of your break bulk cargo, right? And they are so well organized, so well structured that, every, you could say, your liner shipping model is, you could say, very preferable, right? So, these are, morely being preferred by any exporter or importer, right? Now, when we are talking about these liner shipping models, Another point that one should keep into mind is that, there were used to be liner conferences, right? So liner conferences are what? They used to be an association, or there used to be group of people, right, wherein they talk about the modalities of the shipping. Modalities as such, talking about, there should not be any, you could say, cutthroat competition, because what will happen if there would be multiple lines running onto the, very same schedule or onto the very fixed lines, then there will be cutthroat competition, and it will actually, you could say, destroy the spirit of the market. So in order to, make sure that that competitive advantage is ensured, along with, the entire market is not losing upon, so there used to be these liner conferences. The very first happened for India. If I specifically talk about, it happened with the UK, right? So there were various other, the Pacific one, the Baltic one, then the various other happened over the period of time, and there are number of liner conferences as, for example, the you could say North America, Australia conferences, right? So the entire of these liner conferences is to ensure that your sort of that, all sort of your conflicts are resolved. They decide upon, what all lines would be running, all your shipping lines would be running onto what schedules, right? So that there should not be any internal conflict. There should, be sort of, you could say, ki better frequency, and there should be, also lead to the lower operational cost. So this sort of your, you could say, the mechanism wherein, you are ensuring that your, you could say, key association of people, association of shipping lines, they are coming in contact with each other, they are sitting, they are having deliberations, they are having discussions. So to just make sure that there is healthy competition, they promote, right, growth into the market. So that is why these sort of liner conferences, they still are happening, and they used to happen since your 19th century, right? Now when we are talking about these liner shipping models, there are number of, you could say, benefits, right, of engaging these liner shipping models. So the very first thing, when I talk about the Asian markets, so specifically with respect to Asian markets, we call it a hub and spoke model. So hub and spoke model is basically what, supposingly any company, they are entering into the Asian markets, right? So they'll be having a major center onto which they'll be, operating majorly. And through those, major center, that one major regions will be having the sub-regions or the sub-segments. So through that hub and spokes model, it will just make sure that distribution is being done all around the, you could say, let's say, for example, let's say India. So distribution is run all throughout the India, and the major hub, let's say, being the Mumbai, Calcutta, Delhi or Chennai, right? So that way the hub and spoke model runs out. And these sort of models, they are comparatively cost effective, not that much as compared to your tram shipping models, but otherwise also, since we are, you could say, taking into account the operational cost, so that is why the linear shipping models are preferable. And then too, when we are talking about that, one is preferably looking for, you could say, the distribution of your, you could say, the bulk cargo or the brick bulk cargo. So yes, liner shipping models are much preferable. And various other factors can also be contributing towards deciding upon which sort of your lining, shipping model should be taken into account. So it is the very thing that we, need to take into account is your pestle analysis. Now when I say pestle analysis, it means the political, economic, social, technological, and environmental and legal, right? So all these factors, they matter a lot, right, when we are talking about liner shipping models. So this political, socio-economic domain has also to be taken care of when any importer or exporter is taking the services of any shipping line, whether it being a liner shipping model, whether it being a tram shipping model. Now, when we are talking about these models, then another point that comes into the picture is that, all these, since all these, shipping lines, they run onto the prefixed, you could say, date and the lines. So what happens out is, it is still happening that let's supposingly they are traveling all together from JNPT port in Mumbai to some port at Singapore. So in the return journey, so as to reduce their operational costs, that will not be a sort of your single voyage. Rather, they'll be trying to penetrate onto this thing that they effectively are trying to reduce down the logistical costs, the operational costs. So in a major of the shipping lines, they do what is they carry the waste paper, because waste paper is one such element which is being used, or which is being carried up in these return journeys. So let's suppose any shipping voyage that is being intended from, let's say, JNPT to, again, let's say, Singapore. So in the return journey, it will do what is, it will carry the waste paper just to make sure that it is not incurring that extra cost of fueling, of extra cost of your operational expenses. Rather, it will take the return cargo from those intended, the points of your destination to some other point, right? So in that manner, we say it that it is very much effective in reducing down the cost, your logistical cost, your operating cost, right? Then when we are talking about these these shipping models, one another point that comes into the picture is liner shipping connectivity index. Now, liner shipping connectivity index is a composite score which is based on to your number of your vessels, number of shipping lines running, and what is the space of the that particular shipping vessel, right, and the various related parameters. And this data set is basically being maintained by your World Bank, and they are being released every year based into the thorough analysis, right? So what is the purpose behind of having this liner connectivity index? It's basically show you that in terms of every country, let's suppose India, Singapore, China being there, so how much connected those shipping lines are, right? So if I talk about India, India used to have a liner connectivity index of somehow around 50.4 precisely in way back 2014. But due to concerted efforts by the government in terms of coming up with more shipping lines, in terms of making efforts to decongest the port areas, in terms of making sure that we do have you could say better warehousing facilities, so that liner connectivity index has jumped from 50.4 to 58.2 presently in 2022. So that data, as I mentioned, is being shown by onto your by the World Bank, right? So this indicates that yes, we have improved marginally over the years, and with new policies coming into the picture, as our national logistical policy that we already discussed in the previous segments. So these policies are intended to provide a robust infrastructure which is pretty much required to create a sort of your ecosystem wherein you are having better water transportation, better roads, better railways, right? So all these factors would obviously definitely will help out improving the various parameters. So if I talk specifically about this liner shipping connectivity index, so presently it is 58, and it is expected that it is going to take a great leap in the coming years, right, due to number of efforts, as I mentioned, that where the government is trying to reduce onto the dwelling time, and altogether also working on to how to reduce the layover times, and making provisions to just make sure that custom formalities are also eased out, right? So sort of a documentation procedures. So basically all these factors, when we talk about, they lead to a comprehensive growth, right? And coming back to this liner shipping model, these models are, we prefer, since the exporters, the importers, they are well aware, right, about the your lines of your schedule, you could say the very rates. Since I mentioned about liner conferences, so they also decide upon what will be the prices, because the very basic point of their discussion is that it should not, promote that feeling of unhealthy competition in such in these, setup. So these liner conferences, they also run the deliberations wherein they discuss upon the uniform prices for a typical sort of your vessel, right, for that much, let's say, specific, you could say, type of your or category of your cargo. So those prices are decided through these liner conferences, and those prices, they ensure that there is a very healthy competition. The different shipping lines, for example, CJ, CGM, that, or various other Maersk lines, or Mediterranean one, so they should not get in conflict with each other. Rather, there should be very congenial environment, and a uniform policy would also promote the growth, and would increase the frequency also, but without compromising onto the quality or the functionality, right? So they basically they make sure that your these shipping lines, right, and they work smoothly, and they promote a sort of your healthy competition structure, right? Now, liner shipping model again, is dependent upon various of factors, onto which we decide whether we want to engage the liner shipping models or not. For example, what is the nature of your cargo? So that also decides upon that, whether you want to indulge the liner shipping models or you want to go for the tram shipping models. So let's say the goods are perishable or goods are of your urgent need. So accordingly, you'll decide upon which sort of your shipping models you will be preferably going for. If I give an example of a newspaper, right, so that is a sort of an your cargo which is not bulk cargo as in the goods are not of you could say the high end value also, and the goods are such which are of your you could say not even of your perishable nature, but in a nature which requires your urgent delivery. Because if a news of 24th is not delivered onto the very same day, then it is of no point, then it would not be making sense. So that is why in those cases we cannot rely upon tram shipping models. We preferably go for the liner shipping models, where we do have the predetermined your you could say lines or schedules which are ready to go for, right? You know that these shipping lines will work on to, let's say, supposingly these very dates, these very time periods or the time slots, right? So that ways we rely upon the liner shipping models for the perishable mode, for those sort of your articles which are of urgency, right? And similarly, the medicines can also be one such case wherein the liner shipping models can be engaged upon. And then, if when we are talking about these these models, these liner shipping model, the very next thing that comes into the picture is your tram shipping models. So giving you a brief about the tram shipping models on to the contrary are very unstructured. They are not organized one. Why I am saying that they are not structured? Reason being, there is no predetermined routes, there is no fixed lines, there is no fixed structure with respect to the uniform pricing policies. So that is why we say that tram shipping model, as compared to your liner shipping models, they are very unorganized, and rather in case of your tram shipping models, there is preferably that one thing, that is you go for the bulk cargo, bulk cargo, heavy cargo, right? And these sort of your cargo are basically homogeneous into nature. Since for example, I want to say, let's suppose you are importing or exporting the oil, coal, so those could be one examples which you could say are such of your homogeneous nature, and wherein you are you are taking the bulk cargo, a bulk cargo which is of your homogeneous nature. And why these transshipping models are preferred? Because they comparatively are cheap, right? Comparatively are more cost effective. They do not run onto the fixed lines as your liner shipping model is, right? They do not run onto the predetermined routes. So they can also do that, thing of, like, for example, collecting the cargo from point A, then collecting the cargo from point B, and the ultimate point would be the same, that is the point D, but they may load or unload the cargo from one or more than one port. So it is not like the liner shipping model where those ports will be decided, will be pre-decided rather, right, wherein it will go from destination A to point your ready destination D. But in case of your transshipping model, what happens out is your those shipping lines will work like that. They'll take the cargo from point A. Now they'll do what is, they may unload the cargo at point C before going to the final destination point D. So it goes like collecting the cargo from two different points, let's say A and B, and then unloading a bit of the same onto port C, and then moving further to the destination and unloading the rest of the cargo at point D. So that ways your transshipping model, they collect the data from the point of origin to, you could say, they can take the data from different points and go for the loading and unloading at different, more than one ports, right? And as I said, it is very loosely structured, very fragmented market, and a perfect competition exists in case of your transshipping model. Why perfect competition? Because there is no barrier onto the entry and the exit of your these shipping companies, since there is no policy structuring in terms of your price, in terms of your schedules, in terms of your frequency or the running routes, right? So that is you could say ki it is fragmented market. It is a market which is having a perfect competition without any barriers, right? And anyone can easily enter or exit from the market, but obviously there would always be this impact of liner or you could say shipping alliances. So you always know the big sharks will take over the small fishes. So that ways you could say ki yes, the major ones can have a monopoly in the market, but otherwise if you would see onto the structuring of the transshipping, it is a sort of your perfect competition market wherein anyone can easily enter and exit the market. And then too, when we are talking about transshipping models, I've already highlighted that these sort of models, they basically prefer the bulk cargo, heavy cargo, right? And another important point is here what happens out is that since the cargo is bulk in nature, it is of your homogeneous nature, the cost is comparatively lower. One another point could be the packing. So here it doesn't goes like as we have read in the previous segments where we talk about the relevance of packing. So it is not like here that you will be having those ULDs wherein unit load devices will be there and that you will be doing those shrink wrapping, right? So basically here will be very loose structured packing, the sort of your loose bag packings, right? Since the cargo are homogeneous in nature, so there is no that much sorting and segregation of the cargo. So that is it runs like, and the intent is same whether we go for liner shipping model or the transshipping model, that firm utility will always be there. Transshipping model doesn't mean ki since you are very there into unorganized segment, you are there into very loosely structured fragmented market, so firm utility might not be ensured. Obviously this is not the case. आप चाहे लाइनर शिपिंग मॉडल के लिए जाए चाहे ट्रांसशिपिंग मॉडल के लिए जाए, फॉर्म यूटिलिटी विल बी देयर, राइट? टाइम यूटिलिटी विल बी देयर, राइट? प्लेस यूटिलिटी विल बी देयर, राइट? So similarly, all sort of your utilities, whether I talk about that right goods, right time, right place, so in the right form, so everything will be ensured. On time logistics will be there, but the structuring is such that there will be no predetermined fixed lines to go for, as in case of your liner shipping model. So this is not the case for your tram shipping model. In case of your tram shipping, rather they are very unstructured, very loosely structured, fragmented market, you could say market, right? So wherein you could say obviously the intent is to effectively utilize the entire shipping space there onto the ship vessel. So similarly is the case for liner shipping also, that you try to effectively utilize each and effectively and efficiently the available space onto the vessel, so that your cost, your operational cost should taper down. So that are the key highlighting differences between your liner shipping model and your tram shipping model. Therein, there are different, further we could say the, types of your tram shipping segments, which will definitely take up in the next segments, and we'll also talk about the benefits and the factors impacting the same, the different freight structure with respect to the same, and the green shipping. So all these things we are taking up onto the next segment. So thank you.